All right, let's take a look at today's big game breakdown. NBA action Wednesday, April the 3rd. Orlando at New Orleans is where we're going to go for this one. And we're going to narrow it down. Going to play New Orleans first half here, -2 points. Been a very good first half team so far this season. We'll get into that in a minute. But let's start with the fact that both of these teams are struggling recently. For the Orlando Magic, they just concluded a 5-game homestand. In those 5 games, they went 2-3 straight up. The wins were against lowly Memphis and Portland. They went 1-4 against the spread in those 5 games. The offense really struggled for the Magic in those contests. They put up 93, 97, 104, and 107 in 4 of those 5 games. The offense, as I mentioned, just totally breaking down here for the Magic currently. But for the Pelicans, it hasn't been much better, although the competition level has been. They are in the midst of a 6-game homestand here. They're 1-3 through the first 4, but the competition has been better. Boston, they lost. Oklahoma City, Pelicans lost. Phoenix, Pelicans lost again. The team they did beat was Milwaukee, but all 4 of those teams are playoff bound. 1-3 straight up and ATS on the current 6-game homestand. San Antonio is the final game of this 6-game homestand. So for the Pelicans, a chance with a win here to even it up and at least walk out 3-3 as they head into their final stretch, which has a lot of tough road games up ahead. And for the Pelicans, of course, standings are important at this point in time as they fight to move up the ladder here to the 4th spot in the Western Conference of the NBA. I talked a little bit last week about a quote that came from Mo Wagner from the Orlando Magic, talking about that maybe the Orlando Magic confidence level wasn't where it should be. His point was they weren't playing as if they considered themselves to be in the position that they are, sitting with a home floor first round advantage as a playoff team. He thought they were playing more like a team that didn't believe that they were that good. And as soon as he said that, they went out and lost to the LA Clippers for their 3rd straight loss. They won a game against Memphis big and then came back as a 16.5-point favorite the other night and could only beat Portland by 1. So I don't think the Magic have improved much since that statement was made. Paolo Banchero also a little bit vocal at that point in time, talking about how he wasn't pleased with the way he was playing. However, he did have a good performance his last time out. It's an interesting situation here with Orlando, a young team with a young coach, ex-Dallas Mavericks assistant who has a little bit of playoff experience, but the team overall, not so sure that they're sure of themselves at this point as they travel into New Orleans. Whenever I play a Magic game, I always look at the front line. You guys have heard me say that a whole bunch. And here the Pelicans match up real well, even without Brandon Ingram in the lineup. The Pelicans front line, Herb Jones, Zion, and Valanciunas matches up pretty well against Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and Wendell Carter Jr. So Orlando won't have that huge front line advantage that they have in a lot of instances in games on a nightly basis. And then the Pelicans guards are just better shooters, right? They haven't shot well lately, which is interesting, but CJ McCollum and Trey Murphy III certainly better shooters from distance than what the Magic bring to the table. I shorten this up simply because New Orleans has given a lot away in the 4th quarter this year, and they're one of the premier first half teams in this league. 46-26 against the spread. It's been noted throughout the season how good the Pelicans are in the first half. They're especially good at home, 22-12 against the spread. I think both teams come out with motivation because they've been playing poorly. And I think the New Orleans motivation is to get to 3-3 before they hit the road, finish this homestand off at least at 500. So I think first half, Pelicans -2 is the way to go here. That's the way I'll choose to play this big game breakdown. New Orleans Pelicans -2 first half. All right, best bet here for Wednesday night. We're going to go right back to the well, guys. Had a 4% best bet on this selection a couple of nights back, and we're going to repeat it here. It's the Indiana Pacers against the Brooklyn Nets. Pacers team total tonight, 118.5. Once again, we're going to play it over. It was an easy win the other night. Pacers got to 133 against the Nets. Let's look at a couple of reasons why. Heading into that Nets game on Monday night, that one was at Indiana. the Pacers were off of a couple of subpar offensive performances. I think 99 and 109 is what they had scored the two previous games. But there were reasons why, if you want to make justifications for why they weren't the same offensive team that they usually are, you could attribute those to one of them was the sixth game of a 6-game road trip. And then the second one was the first game back home off of a 6-game road trip. The Nets then stepped in. Pacers were ready. They played their brand of basketball. They scored 133 points. It was a pretty easy cash on that 4% play the other night. Pacers firepower, a little bit too much for Brooklyn, who is in the NBA's bottom tier in defensive efficiency, 20th ranked at this point in time. Not very good. There was a Kevin Ollie quote that I need to read here real quick as part of this analysis. And Kevin Ollie had this to say about what happened the other night. We need to understand that and can't be surprised by their pace on Wednesday. They're going to try and do the same thing. We let them get to the rim. They create paint touches and then they kick it out. We're always scrambling to try and get back. Give them credit. They played their style of play. They are relentless at it. I know our guys are going to be ready and give a better mental and physical battle. I don't know how much the very last sentence of that can be incorporated into this game. Pacers are just better at what they do than a lot of teams are defensively in the NBA, the Nets included in that particular subset. So I'm going to try the Pacers here. Their pace, as Kevin Ollie mentioned in that quote, it is relentless. Third fastest paced team in the NBA over the course of the last 30 games. The 118.5 number that they're asked to go over tonight has been exceeded by Indiana in 8 of their last 11. So despite the two lower output efforts, which I described earlier, they've been red hot offensively. The Pacer team has on the road. They're scoring 120.6 points per game, which is better than what we're asked to score here tonight. And within the last 17 days, Indiana has now scored 121 and 133 against this same Brooklyn Nets team. So again, the end of that quote from Kevin Ollie, I just don't know how much of that is reality. It could be wishful thinking that the Nets would give a better effort, but we've seen two instances, again, within the last 17 days where the Pacers offense just overran the Nets defense. I think the matchup and the situation indicate that the Pacers can do this again, probably score somewhere in the 121 plus range one more time. So that's going to be the best bet for today. Indiana Pacers team total over 118.5.
The Cleveland Cavaliers are at the Phoenix Suns tonight, and I have a very strong opinion on this game. I'm Andy from WagerTalk.com. We're going to break down that game and give out a best bet for a player prop that is near and dear to my heart. But let's talk about the Cavaliers and the Phoenix Suns. Looking at the WagerTalk live odds page, Phoenix Suns are going to be 6-point favorites at home. I am more interested in this total at 226.5, and I love the over, and a lot of this has to do with the Cleveland Cavaliers' lack of defense recently. So let's just take a small sample size. Over the last 10 games, the Cleveland Cavaliers have dropped to 5th worst in the NBA. They are playing worse defense than teams like the Chicago Bulls, the Atlanta Hawks, the Memphis Grizzlies, even the Detroit Pistons. They're even playing slightly worse than the Phoenix Suns, but not that much worse, because Phoenix is the 8th worst defensive team in the league over the last 10 games. So when we look at Cleveland's last few games, easily have gone over this total of 226 in their last couple games. At Utah, final score 129-113. Against Denver, 130-101. Against Philadelphia, 117-114. Even at Charlotte, 118-111. So this is a team that's scoring, but they are giving up a lot of points on the other end, and they are on a back-to-back situation. We've got Grayson Allen questionable and Donovan Mitchell questionable. When we look at Phoenix, they've been in some high-scoring games as well. At New Orleans, 124-111, easily go over this 226 total. 128-103 at Oklahoma City, easily over this total. So we've got a couple teams really struggling on defense. And we've got a back-to-back situation, and we've got Phoenix that just got done with a 5-game road trip back at home, and they have a pretty tough schedule coming up. Cleveland, Minnesota, New Orleans, Clippers, Sacramento, Minnesota. So this is a Phoenix team that is going to have to be playing dialed-in basketball, so I do not expect a letdown from them. Expect defense to be at a premium tonight and expect scoring to be fairly easy. Let's also make sure we check the lineups and make sure that nothing crazy happens with the lineups. We've seen that over the last couple days. But as long as we get the full lineups in with main guys like Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, I think we're going to be in really good shape to cash the over. So my favorite play in this game easily is the over 226.5. If you are interested in plays for today outside of the NBA, I have my NHL best bet that is up. We continue to be number one in NHL in all categories for the season. We are having the dream NHL season. Number one in profits, number one in ROI, number one in winning percentage. And we just came off of a really nice cash last night. It is my only play that I have up for tonight's action. We do have golf and we do have UFC up as well. But if you're looking to cash in a sport, take a look at NHL, number one across the season, and we are on a 7-1 short-term run. So short-term, long-term, NHL has been fantastic. Grab that play. Let's keep cashing in the NHL. Andy Lang at WagerTalk.com. Best bet player prop for the NBA, near and dear to my heart, my guy, Tyrese Halliburton from my Indiana Pacers. So I've been talking about him and his three-point prop for a while. He came out of the All-Star weekend and he went over his number in the first game, and then he went 7 games in a row going under. He lost his shot. Injuries had plagued him a little bit, but it looks like the pendulum has swung back the other way. He went over again in his last game, and this number is 2.5. So we're looking at 2.5 made three-pointers. He has now cashed in 5 out of the last 6 games. So he came off of a cold streak, and I think we got a few more games that we can catch him on his hot streak before the books either move this up to 3.5 or they put this juice up to -160. Right now it's -130. So the best bet is to take Tyrese Halliburton over 2.5 made three-pointers. He did go over this against Brooklyn in his last game, and he's playing Brooklyn again tonight. Brooklyn is 23rd in three-point percentage defense, so they give up a lot of three-pointers each game, and I look for Tyrese Halliburton to cash again. So Tyrese Halliburton over 2.5 three-pointers is the best bet. Don't forget to go get that NHL best bet, and let's keep bringing in the profits as the number one NHL handicapper. Good luck on your place. We'll see everyone later.